All right, we are live, and we dealt with a whole lot of technical problems because there are five creators all in this room at the same time, and we're going to actually talk about how more than five creators came together to create this Nas and Joey Badass track, and there are other features on it, Gary Clark, for example, and some additional vocalists, but. Um, I want to welcome everybody to Vintage Vandals. This is my production team, including Tina G. She's not officially claiming Vintage Vandals, but eventually will absorb her identity as well. Shout out to BeatStars for making this happen. Every single Monday and Thursday, the Music Entrepreneur Club hosts live, free, interactive music business mentorship programs right here. And in spite of it being the holidays, we're still here. So I'm excited to talk about this because we worked on a song with, I mean, undeniably a hip hop legend, Nas, and then also undeniably a person who's growing into becoming a legend, Joey Badass. And the last time we spoke, we broke down, I think, either the Russ record. No, we broke down the Locks record. That was a collaboration with Static Selector. This is also a collaboration with him. This whole track was for his album, and so it started off by him contacting Dream Life, and again things just kind of not going the way we thought they were going to go, and that's just the nature of music. So, Dream Life, how did this start? How did you first? What was that conversation like with Static?
Yeah, so Static reached out to me to do a sample replay, and most sample replays are pretty straightforward, and you hear the MP3 that they send you, and you're kind of like, all right, we can do this. This one was a bit different, and the reason it was different is because it was a Dells record, and the way those guys were singing back in the 70s is damn hard to replicate today. So I had an MP3 and a really amazing sample. The drum, the whole beat was basically done, and we needed to replay this sample. And yeah, for us to redo the vocals was something that was on my mind, and something I think as a group we spoke a lot about. You know, how can we do this? You know, what's a realistic approach? So we kind of went into this, I think, without a way that we could do that, without a solid game plan, and just kind of made it work as we went along. So that's pretty much how it began, and I think it took quite a while for us to get this one to where it ended up. I think you guys remember.
I don't even remember how it started. I know we were freaking out because we were kind of tasked with creating an entirely new composition, and it ended up being, this is a spoiler alert, it ended up being the final song ended up being a combination of our new creation and the sample. So that's what I mean. Like, it didn't go how we planned. We thought we were creating an entirely new work on the master and composition side, and it ended up that we did do that, but Static still decided to go with using the sample in conjunction with our new creation, which ended up adding an entirely new dimension to the song. So it really transformed it. It didn't sound like the original at all, really. There were elements of the original, but it was crazy. So how did it start? I don't remember. There were just so many hands in the in the creation of this that I thought you had worked. I think Dream Life. I think you had created some chords and you sent them to me, and I was like, okay, I can play those, because I think Steve was busy doing something. He was like, I don't know, in a washing the penthouse windows or something, strapped to a pulley system or something, and so he couldn't do it right away. And Dream Life and I are freaking out because we're just at home by ourselves, and I was like, okay, I can't play keys like Stack, so let me just try to do something and send it back to Dream Life. And is that what happened?
Yeah, that's what happened. So basically, yeah, I was freaking out because I always like to get these sample replays going as quick as possible. You know, once I get the request, I don't like to sit on it. I feel like it loses momentum. So I remember getting the song, and you know, to get this started, I mean, you got to have a bass sort of fundamental piece that you're going to work around. So that in this case was the keys. If I'm not mistaken, Stack Trace, you might be able to clarify this, but I think it was a pretty simple 4-chord turnaround. 7th chords, really nice sort of sequence. So put that down, literally just worked it out by ear, and then sent it back to everyone. And then you, Payne, you took it and basically worked on it. I think you spent a night on it and then sent it back to all of us, went back to Stack Trace, and so on and so forth, I believe.
Yeah, I can share the session now. Hold on. Let me just show you what it actually looked like. So these are, I see what happened. All right. So you sent me MIDI. You sent me some chords. And I ended up, yeah. You sent me MIDI, and I ended up adding additional chords to the MIDI that you sent and some embellishments on top. Okay, so this is what it sounded like at the very beginning stages when me and you were at home freaking out, trying to get a hold of everybody else, and they're not calling us back because they have actual lives. This is what we created. This is the intro. And I think there's one chord variation here. That's why you see this red section that I just added in after the fact. Yeah, and then I think that's when Stack Trace finally added something to it, right? And you added live roads, right?
Yeah, I did live roads, but I never heard what you just played. So I'm thinking, Dream, you never sent me that part. You sent me something else.
Yeah, I sent you the same chords, the MIDI that I sent Payne. So you obviously got it, and then you got it a few days later when you finally decided to check your email. And then after that, I think you laid the chords down. I have the roads that you sent me here as well. I'd definitely like to play them if possible. Just because I think that.
And the roads that right back there, that's my roads, and that's a Rhodes 73. Needs a little bit of work, but the thing I like about it is all that clankiness, and like there's some keys that are not busted, but they sound, you know, it needs some work, but that kind of comes through in the recording. I think we talked about that, like at least we did in the other record, is like keeping some of those artifacts in there because we really like that.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what this sounds like that I'm just about to play, but I'm pretty sure there's some of that in this phrase. I'm just gonna share this. You can see that, all right? Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So I think this is actually completely different all the way through. Yeah, so that is one of the first things I got, I believe. And you also sent a piano.
Yeah, I thought I did like piano, the intro, those first couple of chords. I thought. Oh, I layered it with piano?
Yeah.
Okay.
And do you know what you actually sent me? You sent me something, I can't remember the name. I remember you, hang on. and I had to chop it up, and I called it intro piano. And it was just like a kind of really cool.
Oh yeah, that's the SRX piano. Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what you sent me first, and then also these Rhodes intros here as well here. Kind of put a delay on this.
Did you run that through your pedals?
No, I didn't. At that point, I didn't have any pedals, interestingly. So yeah, that is I believe the first thing that I got from Stack Traces, and then I believe it went to memory, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I can't remember who gave me what. I think Jan, you probably gave me just what everyone had done so far, and then I just laid down guitar on it. Let me see. And I apologize if you hear some banging in the background. There's kids behind this wall, and they've been going nuts. So sorry if that happens. But let me share my screen quick here.
You son of a gun. I don't see it yet. I have all the power. I'm the one that has to authorize the screen share.
Okay. Well, it says share your entire screen, and I put it's just there. Oh, okay. There we go. Sorry, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. Can see that now. Can you see my session?
We got it.
Okay. All right, perfect. So yeah, actually, I laid down
Is that Ableton?
No, this is Acid. You're not familiar with this?
Remember, you two are the only two.
Yeah, I laid down quite a few guitars on here though. And you know, Gary Clark Jr., he also added things, and I think that the difference between what we added, like I pretty much did a lot of the basis, like the underlying sounds and textures and things like that. And he kind of came over and did, you know, like the solo stuff and the lead stuff that, you know, you can hear more prominently throughout the track. But if you listen underneath, you can kind of hear some of these things. So I'll just kind of play them individually, just so you can hear what I played. Let's see. So just some stabs. Can you guys hear that all right? Were you guys able to hear those stabs?
That's what the thumbs up means.
Oh, I can't see the screen. I'm looking at my
we can hear everything, man.
Okay, all right, thanks. Okay, all right. So then I added some chords underneath that with tremolo effect on them. And then a melody, which is with a phaser on it. And that melody right there is basically what Tina.
Yeah, I was just about to say. Yeah.
So I don't know. Did that come after, before, or after? I'm not sure.
That was you, man. That was you. I don't think there was an element that had that melody in, at least in the files that you got, not to my knowledge.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
The issue was none of us remember.
Right.
I was like, oh, we're going to talk about this today. I have no idea. about anything. I have no idea. I don't remember any of it. I was going to make stuff up. So I'll just make a whole bunch of cool stuff up.
We're gonna have to start writing notes when we are doing tracks like
working with Nas. Well, let's get our feelings down.
Yes.
Well, the funny thing is when you're doing it, it's like, I'll remember this. Like, I remember what's going on and stuff. But then when some time goes by, you look back at it, you're like, I just can't remember.
Absolutely not.
It's crazy.
All I remember is the final mix that I did of this that I sent to Static. I think it was like, how many tracks is it? I mean, it's got to be like 40 tracks, and I just remember how long it took me to mix it. That's all I remember.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So here's these were just some like sprinkles, some little things to add in that just give it more texture. Something with a wah on it, like a wah chord.
Memory, what pedal were you using for that delay effect? Can you remember? Just for the guitar buffs out there, it might be interesting.
Yeah, it's either going to be, well, it's a combination of the GT100, which is made by Boss, with my actual wah pedal, which is a Vox pedal. At the time, it was a Vox. Since then, I got the Crybaby. But yeah, I think that was with the Vox pedal. So, and that's part of the Tone Lab LE, which is another multi-effects processor. So,
what about the tremolo? Was that coming from a pedal, or was that like waves or something?
The trem, yeah, that came from one of the pedals for sure. Yeah, I don't really do much in post. I'm really trying to focus on using pedals and things like that to create the sounds. I feel like the post effects for guitar just kind of sound cheap and sort of fake. So I kind of stay away from that. But there is a sound that people get from using those. So I kind of take back what I said about it being cheap and fake, because a lot of music is made that way. But yeah, I really try and stick with the analog when I can. So.
By the way, I forgot to mention when we were talking about Rhodes that the Rhodes that I gave Dream was straight out of the line out, like no effects at all. And I don't think you added anything to them. I know I didn't. Dream, you're on mute there. But yeah, it was straight line out of the unit, and I don't have an amp or anything.
Do you know what I actually did? I took the bottom end out of it. So I pretty much EQ'd the bottom end out of it. For some reason, I think when I got the live bass back off the bassist that played on this, Alex, he played an amazing bass line, and I think there was just a few little nicks of the bottom of the Rhodes that were clashing with the bass, because it's a very similar register down there. So I think all I did was just just take a little bit of the bottom end off it.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't know. As a general rule, if I'm recording keys, whether they're analog or whether they're a VST, I'm always rolling off the lower frequencies.
That's a good rule. I don't do it enough, but it does definitely clash with the bass if you're not careful. And you never really know it until the bass is in there. And if you've already sent off the stems, it's like, yeah, you have your only choice as a mixer is to roll something off. So, or just edit like crazy.
So I just had a couple other parts here, just more of those kind of textural pieces. The one that you can hear the most prominently is kind of toward the beginning of the track, before the drums drop, and that's this one. So that was pretty much done with just using a delay and kind of just going down the fretboard and kind of doing a tremolo effect. Or a trill effect. And then there's this other part, which I guess was like, I believe Static might have chopped this up and used little snippets of it here and there, which I think you can hear throughout. So yeah, that's pretty much what I added, and yeah.
So what is that, like 8 or 9 tracks of guitar?
Yep, 9 tracks. Yep. So what's the count at?
A lot.
It's a lot. It was stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the next, like the next bit of the process really was so we had this track now that had kind of started taking shape in terms of, you know, we had keys, we had guitar, we had strings that Payne added, we had a bunch of stuff. And I think the next stage was actually Tina getting in the studio with you, Payne, and kind of working out, you know, how can you guys sort of get some of that energy that the original vocals had, right?
I mean, I wish we had been in the studio together, but she's still 1,000+ miles away. Damn it, man. But yeah, all of us did every part of this remotely, and that's kind of the crazy thing. I can here. I'll share my screen again and show you what is going on. Oh wait, hold on. Let me share my screen again. Sorry, my camera's in the way of everything. All right, so here it is. This is kind of like the full thing. I'm gonna mute Tina's vocals just so that we can leave that as a surprise. But with everything, like strings and everything. And I'll just be straight up. Obviously, I'm not playing these strings. These are from Arcade. So I'll show you which preset I used from Arcade. It's this pack called the 70s, and it has just really nice.
Is that just a scratch beat, by the way?
I gotta mute myself when you.
Sorry, there you go. Is that a scratch beat? Like, or did you make that beat?
You're muted.
He gets so excited, but he's muted, and he looks up.
All right. So the drums were from the actual original MP3 that Static sent me, and I put it through RX7 and took out all the instruments, and we were just left with the drum track. So that was kind of, I think it's super important to remake samples to the drums that the beat has that you're trying to, you know, remake a sample for, because like you don't want to lose the groove. Like if you mute the drums and then you send back a sample that is like doesn't line up to the drums just in the slightest, it can be really off-putting. So I think we used the drum track, and that was actually one of the first things we had down as a like a guide. And also playing those strings from Arcade, I actually had a violinist actually replay them as well, just kind of for the texture.
Yeah, so this whole session that I just played, it's most of the elements, but I mean, there's a lot going on. So I mean, there's the piano track here, piano embellishments. There's the bass line. There are the drums. There's the roads that Stack Trace added from an actual keyboard. I don't know. I think these strings are that you must have sent me these vibes too. And then these are additional piano embellishments. These are from 2 different Arcade presets. This is one. This is where I got the strings from, and this is where I got the piano embellishments from this little piece. And then then the really big struggle was finding vocals that fit the aesthetic of 70s soul, which is not easy. And the craziest thing for me is because the original sample was male vocals, so we're sitting back brainstorming, what do we do? What do we do? Who has vocals like that? And I was like, why not my friend of like a million years, Tina? She can sing like that. Who cares if she's a woman? Let's just change it. Let's make it a woman singing instead of a male group. And that's what we did. And thank God we did it because it worked. So what was your process like, Tina?
The same as always. I get a beat, and I listened to the other song, and really got like the feel of it, and like what the premises, and like, trying to capture what they were doing and the vibe of what they were doing, and I just did my dang best, and it turned out pretty cool. I mean, I thought it would be cooler if they would have used a little bit more, but it was cool that they used what they did, of course.
Did you pick the words "Keep It Moving"?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you. Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you actually, because obviously we had to change. At that stage, you're actually trying to replay the sample completely, right? So we had to take "Walk On By," which is the sample that they use, but then we kind of had to have you write like an alternate version of like, what could you say "Walk On By," right? So how did you, like, what was your process when you heard the original lyrics and sort of making something new?
Well, I thought, like keeping the sound and the feel, but also using like a phrase that kids like, keep it moving, that's more modern. So I thought it'd be cool if I used like a modern phrase with that really kind of 70s sound. And I thought it would connect, and it seemed like it did. They picked it for the name of the song and everything. So that was cool.
Yeah, I want to add something as well. And I know you guys are aware of this, but it's not plainly obvious. I actually had 2 other people do vocals for this as well. One was a male vocalist. He did what Tina did, where he wrote his own, like, alternate version. And I had another female vocalist also do it as well, and sent them all in different mixes to Static Selector. And obviously he picked Tina's version. So yeah.
Yeah, let me play these vocals so anyone who's watching actually knows, what we're going on about. And you can see I did a lot of vocal production. I cut a lot of vocals and rearranged them because I wanted to make it, the original track sampled a soul sample, and it's Static Selector, so we chopped it up a lot. So I actually just took Tina's vocals and chopped them up a whole bunch.
I'm done being broken over you. Keep it moving, yeah. Keep it moving, yeah, yeah. Moving, yeah. Keep it moving, yeah.
Yeah, so you can see all my chops. I'll bring everything in so it sounds more true to form. Yeah, and that's with everything. That's with Tina's vocals. That's with Stack Trace's Rhodes. That's with my keys. The only elements that are missing are everything that Dream Life added once I sent him this stuff. And for some reason, I don't have any of the guitars because I think Memory sent all the guitars directly to Dream Life because he doesn't trust me.
A bastard.
Sounds about
I don't
right,
know.
man.
Can I want to say something about the vocals. Also, Jan, I don't know if you remember, but I tried to sing it too. And I never recorded it because it was above my register, and I'm like, man, I can't do it. Like, just
what's crazy? What's crazy is that I actually tried to sing it too. Yeah, I wasn't.
I'm glad we got Peter to do it. Yeah.
Well, I'll just add this to the group. I did absolutely not attempt to sing it.
No. Stop.
Same here. I thought the octave double that you did, Tina, was really cool.
Thanks.
Yeah, that because some singers, they'll just take that and double it like in the track, but you actually sang an octave higher, and that just really made it sound more rich to me.
So in the original sample, there was actually a vocal that went all the way through the verse in the original that he sent me, and where you're singing, there's like a high ad lib that you sing that I think was very similar to what they were singing through the verse, and I think that was like a major. When I got that back and I knew that we could have some vocal going through the verse, I was like, all right, now we're kind of getting closer to where, you know, we need to be to actually try to emulate the feeling. Right. So that sort of high vocal. I don't know if you,
I'll play it.
Yeah, it's like a keep it. I'm not going to try and sing it because you know.
I think this is it. This part right here.
It was that part, but it was like a. I've got it right here. Hang on. I've literally got all of the vocals that you chopped up.
Moving, yeah, moving, yeah, keep it moving, yeah.
Oh, my bad. So it's this.
Keep it moving, yeah, moving.
So when I got that and I could have that playing through the verse, I was like, that's the feel right there. And I feel like that's something they did a lot back in sort of the Motown era, was they'd have these sort of, you're a singer, so you can explain it better than me, but they'd have these sort of really sort of octave-like harmonies.
Yeah. Well, it makes it more powerful, and you get like the richness of like your boom voice, and then you have that, like, you know, it's just the frequencies too. You want to have the high frequencies. It just gives that really kind of epic 70s feel, because people are lazy now and they don't really do that kind of stuff as much anymore. And but it really makes a huge difference. So
yeah, and it wasn't falsetto or anything like that either, or it didn't seem to be.
I mean, I don't remember it. You know, luckily I'm singing these days in a cover band for my 9 to 5, and I have to learn like all the backgrounds to Earth, Wind and Fire and all the backgrounds to all these Motown songs. So I really have had a chance to study these masters in a, you know, like a very in-depth way, because I have to, you know, perform them all the time. So it's been really helpful. Like, with
what did you, in terms of like microphones and like processes on your end, because obviously
I use a Duet, and I use a Shure condenser mic, and I have a Mac and Pro Tools.
So you just went pretty much like straight into Pro Tools, like dry, and then send.
Well, I have like, you know, I have like a template that I like the way my shit sounds, but when I send it off to everybody, it's, you know, dry, but I can enjoy it while I'm recording, so it doesn't sound boring and dry.
Cool.
But yeah, I always send them off, you know.
So did you like just play the instrumental back and like record loads and loads of takes and pick the best ones, or were you super meticulous and you were like, no, this is exactly what I'm going to sing, and like, what's your process in terms of that?
It honestly, it depends. I mean, sometimes I just like don't even write anything down. I just sing the hook, like I get it right away. It just comes, you know, depending on how simple it is, whatever. And then I'll start layering. And usually I like do a lot of stuff, and Payne like throws half of it away. But like I stack stuff and I pan stuff and I do all the things. And he just likes kind of like my pure voice. He doesn't like it to be that much. But yeah, it really does depend, I would say. It depends on the thing. This one, I wasn't super, it kind of came easy, and I just like, you know, you get the main thing and then you just start like adding all the, you know, the parts and all the things, and it's like a puzzle to me, and I find where all the pieces go, and that's how I kind of do it.
So I got to ask as well, because I was wondering this, like, how did you feel when you found out that they like named the song?
I mean,
like,
it was all really cool. It was all really cool, you know, like I'm old, so Nas is like the jam, you know. So like it's even more cool than like some like younger person, I would feel like. And you know, it was really cool, and I was excited and proud. I'm proud to be working with all y'all. And, you know, you guys are so talented, and, you know, take me along for the ride. I'm ready, you know, like, so.
You know, it's funny what you said too about like when you record stuff and what gets used versus what doesn't. It's like, in my experience, the parts that I spent the most time on usually are the ones that don't get used. But the stuff that I feel like I just kind of shit out,
or that
people are like, oh man, that's awesome.
Like,
what, man,
that came really easy. That came really naturally. There's a lot of times that it just comes very, very easily. And sometimes, you know, I'll write a hook and I'll be like, let me listen to this tomorrow. Let me go ahead and listen to this tomorrow. And then I'll listen. I'm like, oh, no. You know, so you have to walk away from some stuff too, because you get too in your head about it, you know, and then it just like, there's nothing to be done, I think, except for walk away and revisit, because I just spin my wheels and I get crabby and I can't really be successful in it anyway. So
I think
kind of breaks the creative process.
Yeah, I think that's a massive message for like, even if you're just like a beat maker at this point, like, you know, if you were just making beats, like instead of making
smoke some weed, drink some water, take a walk around the block, do some shit, but
and then come back.
And then come back, and don't sit there and be like, I gotta get it, because you ain't gonna get it. You ain't gonna get it.
This is a very, very useful conversation, because I used to spend, like, I'd try to make a beat and it would take me 8 hours, because I spent 7.5 hours trying to work out if it was good or not and what I needed to tweak to make it good. Like, what a waste of time. I could have just come back the next day. And then if you would have been
the next day, you would have been like, oh, I just have to do this.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
That's kind of like how it works for me. And I've learned to like leave it. You know, I'm not, it's taken a long time to get to that. So take this advice, because it's true, people, the younger ones.
Something that I learned from working with Payne One in his studio is that, because when I bring my keyboard over and I'll start playing some chords or whatever, like he'll tell me what he likes, like right away, like a little line I've done or something. So if I don't start recording right away, I forget what I did that he liked. So I now hit the record button every time, like before I even start thinking of what I'm going to do, I record in case I miss the one thing that was gold in it.
Sometimes I record when I'm first listening, because that first thing, you know, like I feel like Jay-Z. I'm like, I'm fucking Jay-Z right now, son. I didn't write nothing down. I off the dome type shit. So it's kind of cool to be able to, like, when that happens, it's magical, and you just go with it. That's I don't know.
You got to capture it. Yeah, you got to capture.
What'd you say?
You're turned up right now.
Oh,
we're talking about Nas
You're
record.
welcome. It was getting too boring. You're welcome.
Agree. That's it. That's the energy. That's the energy.
Here's what's hilarious. Okay, so we're talking about, you know, all our parts getting cut out, because when we heard the final version, I think we were all just holding our breath to see, you know, which parts that we played made it into a Nas track, because we wanted to be immortalized in a Nas record. And actually, I mean, a lot of the stuff got cut out, but we all had pieces that made it, and it wouldn't be the song without our individual pieces, and we were fine with it. But I know with I'm just gonna say it, I know with Tina and Jason, because they've been my friends forever. I mean, for a long time, and we talk, if not every day, several times a week, you know, just on a personal level. And I was getting from Tina, am I even in the final song? Am I even in the final song? And I was getting from Jason, did I get kicked off the song because Gary Clark Jr. has a Grammy and I don't? And then the final version, it's like Nas, Joey Badass, and Tina G. And you know, we're all in it, and that's the craziest part to me, because not only it was funny because Tina had all this anxiety about not making the final version,
because I had told a few and I did not want to be a liar.
But then the title you provided, the title was based on your lyrics, and there was an entire like minute and a half of nothing but your voice. So when I finally heard the final song, I'm like, oh yeah, Tina's gonna be happy. She's not gonna yell at me anymore.
What do you mean anymore? I was just like, I heard a snippet and I heard the sample that they had already. What is happening? You know, like, so because
Yeah,
in there, right? Like, so
yeah, right.
So, like, wow.
No, so the thing with that, right? Because you know, I did have the conversation with Static, and like the original sample is, you know, really added a lot to the song in terms of like the vision that Static had, I believe. So that stayed, you know, and they ended up clearing the sample. But what was so cool about the fact that they did keep it was they also, you sang with them, you know.
Yeah, no, it was totally cool. But the little piece that I heard, I was like, oh no, I thought I was gonna do this anyway, you know, where you're like, oh dear, you know. But I mean, in the music industry, so you know that happens all the time. You get all these opportunities, and all this stuff happens, and you're like so excited, and you tell people, and then, you know, that opportunity doesn't come through, and you're like, you know, you learn to roll with it. But I was really hopeful for this, just because it was a really fun feather in my career cap. You know, it was nice. I'll take it.
Yeah, I think we all did, and we're proud to be in this project.
Yeah, Payne, I don't know if you want me to play what else we added after that, because that was just the beginning in terms of what we actually sent. You know, we got live horns, we got live violin, live bass. So I'm gonna share my screen now and basically play the Tina version. And as I go through this, I'll kind of mute things and solo things just so that, you know, people can kind of hear what exactly we did in terms of the sample replay, if that's cool.
Let's do it.
Let's go. Let me know if you can't see or hear any of this. You can hear that?
Yep.
So this is the Payne bit, I believe. And then as you go through, Memories bit added to this. I added some extra strings and some vibes right around here. And then you got the groovy roads. It's coming to an end, so I'm gonna loop it back. And there's Steve's piano that he added over the top, which is kind of like a sort of reverby piano. The bass line, which is he sent me loads of bass, and I just chopped up that just to keep it simple. And then one of my favorite parts as well was something that I got back from a horn player. And I asked him to play the chords, because that's what they did a lot in Motown, is that, you know, they played sort of this really strong low end horn that kind of loosely followed the horns. I'm not sure how much of this made the final cut, but I'll play it. So that's kind of that typical soul sound. And he did some, and I believe that line was actually based on something that Payne sent to me. And I believe that some of this solo was used on the final cut. I'll play the ending.
Yeah, that was definitely used. I remember that.
So they used the horn. There was a bunch of live strings that I got a violinist to play, by an Italian violinist based in London. So again, we did this all remotely. I've worked with her on a bunch of other things. She replayed what Payne had sent me and added her own sort of flavor to it. And there's also a bit of a solo on here as well from her. And of course, as we discussed, the lovely vocals here as well. So that's a lot of tracks, 38 tracks. And that's pretty much what I sent to Static Selector. And in terms of like the sound and getting something close to a soul sound, actually, Steve, interestingly, I actually did have a bit of tape saturation on your Rhodes that I forgot to mention, but minor. I basically just put it through this Fairchild limiter, which I really like from UAD, that just gives it like a kind of soft saturation, similar to what they would have had back in the day. Level wise, I just made sure everything was in place, and I mean, there's not really much EQ going on, just a little bit on some of these guitars, but yeah, so that's what we sent. That was kind of like the whole big version, and then Static went ahead and, you know, picked the bits he liked. And I think what Static wanted to do, and this is just an assumption, I might be wrong, but, you know, kind of wanted to shorten it down for radio a little bit more, because this song potentially could have been like 8 minutes long, and I think he wanted to, you know, have it nice and compact, 3 minutes, you know, so really good length for radio songs. You know, nothing that's over 3 minutes is really going to get played on the radio. So I think that was the basis of sort of some of the things perhaps not making the cut, but you know, the final turned out great. So yeah.
I wonder if there's gonna be a music video to this.
Man, I mean, I can imagine it's not the easiest. They're not the easiest people to get in the same room, so I'm not sure. But I believe there was an animation video, official. Yeah, which actually turned out really cool.
I was just thinking that, you know, we think back to Nas, Illmatic, Stillmatic, It Was Written, all that stuff. All of those studio albums were probably cut in, you know, NYC. And now look at this track. We've got Panama, Italy, London, Austin, Texas, and Wisconsin. And we all did it through the internet. It's just kind of crazy, you know. 30 years ago.
We got France on it too. The bassist is from France.
France, yep.
Yeah. So really an international vibe on this record. And I guess it just goes to show, like, you know, in years past, you could have said, you know, I can't really get this done because I don't have access to the musicians. I don't have access to the studio. But we're in 2020. And by the way, this was, what time of year did we do this? Was this pandemic territory? I think it was.
Oh, yeah.
So we're in the middle of a pandemic in completely different countries. And the wonders of the internet, you know, kind of allowed us to make this record happen, I guess, which is super cool in my opinion.
I think one thing that's really interesting about the fact that we're all international here is that we managed to all come together from all these different places, different influences, different lifestyles, and create a song that sounds like 90s New York hip hop. Like, we literally brought it through the function of hip hop, and that kind of shows people how strong hip hop is, like, worldwide, like how this sound gets replicated throughout the world, and we all come together to create it. Like, it's just never ending. It's infinite.
Yeah, and I agree. And to go even further back than just saying hip hop, I mean, this is soul music. You know, this is literally, you know, the basis, in my opinion, of sort of soul music, and just how much hip hop is sort of, you know, how much soul music is used in hip hop is incredible as well. So I think this is kind of a demonstration of that.
Yeah, it's got Detroit and Memphis vibes all over it to me. But yeah, it's international. Yeah, and it goes back to the 90s for sure. 90s hip hop.
Yeah, we freaking did it. I mean, way too many tracks. I think a lot of times, you know, we try to simplify our process. I know I do, just in terms of making beats that really hit and have the most essential elements. So, really dope drums, a nice melody and chords. And we strive for, I know I strive for simplicity. Um, this is not one of those situations at all. I mean, I you said 60 some odd tracks at the end of it, Dream.
That was an exaggeration as always, but it was actually 38. So you know, not it wasn't an easy task to, and this was just one of the sessions as well. There was 2 others with different vocalists, so it was really, and I actually knew it was going to be like this when we first started it. Like, there was no way this was going to be like a 10-track thing and we were just going to knock it out. I mean, this took like probably a month or so of just like going back and forth with different musicians, and it kind of became its own little project for us in a way, and in with taking that into account, it's so dope that it actually did make the cut, because I was never sure that it was going to make the cut, because the beat that I originally got was dope as it was, to be honest with you. He could have put that out and it would have done well as well. So I was never sure that it was going to make the cut, but when it did, it's just a pleasure to be a part of.
Now all we have to do is produce a record for Jay-Z next.
It's on the bucket list.
I'm about it.
I'm ready.
All right, so what's everyone working on? Dream, I know you just recently dropped a solo lo-fi album, and you worked with BeatStars for that. Talk about that.
Yeah, so BeatStars approached me a couple of months ago to put out my first beat tape. I've never put out a beat tape before, actually, on streaming services. I put out beats all the time, just not on Spotify. So I was super hype, and I think they might have just wanted me to take a compilation of some of the beats I liked and put it up. And I was kind of like, what, I want to create something sort of from scratch for this. So I actually sampled myself. I used my own samples, chopped them up, made a whole 10-track project. Memory played on it a lot. I used samples from both of you guys on it as well, that were kind of in the sample lab universe. And yeah, just put it out. It's just your sort of super laid back lo-fi album you can put on when you're kind of just chilling or studying or smoking or whatever you do. And yeah, it's done pretty well. And to be honest, man, I'm inspired to do more of them. And it's cool when you just have people hitting you up saying, man, I chill to your beat tape all the time. Like, for me, that's, it makes it worth doing another one. So it's been a super cool little experience. And man, aside from that, just working on sample packs for the sample lab with you guys. We just dropped a bunch of new sample packs, as we always do. And that's just kind of where we are right now. I believe, if I'm not wrong, and I don't want to blow up anyone's spot, but I believe you and Tina Payne have been working on a sample pack too. So I look forward to hearing a bit more about that sometime too.
Yep, I will have it done at the end of December.
Nice.
Gonna do my soul thing. Gonna do my stew.
And then what are you working on, Tina? I know you got your band. Talk about your band. Oh no, you just released a single too. Hold on. You released a single. How do people listen to that single? And that single actually has all of us on it, minus Dream Life, because we didn't know him back then.
It's called Break Me Open, and we released it, and it's got a bunch of plays on Spotify, and so I think it's a really pretty song. And I'm just gonna start putting out more music. I just kind of haven't, and now I'm gonna. It's good. So I mean, I'm constantly writing.
Tina, did you feel inspired when you saw, like, this kind of inspired me to release more music recently. Everyone started publishing their Spotify 2020 wrapped up, with all the artists they were listening to. And I think it was kind of cool that people do that. And they also had like an artist version where you could kind of, show how many streams you got and like where are people from that are streaming your stuff. So I don't know if you caught any of that, and it kind of, sparked you a little bit. But
I mean, that's part of it. And then just part of it's just like, I'm in a, it was a pandemic, nightmare of like, I had bad roommates and I wasn't, it was just yucky. And now I'm really like chilling, and I'm able to have the headspace to write now. And you know, I live with a 6-year-old, so that's new and fun. But yeah, he is going to his dad's for a week, and so I'm gonna get that whole kit done next week. So it's just a new kind of, you know, lifestyle, but I still work on the weekends doing gigs and weddings and corporate stuff. And I just posted a video on my Facebook page that shows like the horn section, and I sing with a 10-piece band, and they're real talented folks, so it's fun.
Oh, what's the name of the band, just for the people out there?
Oh, the name is called Groove Night with a K, because my boss, he's from Wisconsin. So yeah, it's called Groove Night, and we just do like, you know, lots of Motown, lots of disco. It's a dance band. It's fun. People, you know, don't stop dancing. So.
Was that a reference to Wisconsiners being LARPers?
LARPers?
With the night?
LARPers,
no, yeah, live action role players.
He is corny. So, I mean, Wisconsin's a little corny. Let's be real. Can we be real about that?
We have a lot of corny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Just corny in general. Come on, bro. It's corny. But
Tina, where are you from? Where are you from?
I'm from Wisconsin. I'm corny.
Yeah.
I'm so corny.
I didn't know.
But you're in Texas now, right?
Yeah, I've been in Austin for a long time. I lived in New York for like 6 years, and then been in Austin about 8 years now. So I've been going a long time from Wisconsin, but it's, you know, it has my corny heart forever. So yeah.
So
yes,
yeah,
Austin, the other Madison, Wisconsin.
I mean, it is. It's like if New York and Austin had Madison and New York had a baby, it'd be Austin, Texas, because it has like a Madison vibe, but it has like a lot more stuff to do. But it's basically if New York and Madison had a baby. So it's something like Goldilocks. Madison's a little bit too small. New York's a little bit too big. Austin's just right. It's except for like for 4 months during the summer, I want to stab people because it's so hot. But I'm going to come back to Madison. My dream is to live in Madison for the 4 months of summer and then come back here for like.
So reverse snowbird.
Yeah.
So Jace, memory, what did you just dropped a sample pack? Is what everyone has so many damn names. You just dropped a sample pack. Thank God Tina G's just going by Tina G, because that's a real name. Memory, what have you released recently?
So with Dream, we just released Maximum Overdrive 2, which is one of our 80s based sample kits, and that's on the Sample Lab. And yeah, if you like 80s, like we all love 80s, we're all 80s babies, except for maybe a couple of us are 70s babies, huh?
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure.
But you lived through the 80s when you were conscious, you know, like I wasn't conscious till the 90s, really.
I missed quite.
I wasn't doing drugs in the 80s. Not yet. Not just yet.
Okay. But yeah, so it's the sample kit's kind of based off of, I guess, 80s soundtracks. So
cool.
I mean, everybody loves 80s soundtracks.
Love them.
Yeah. And then Solar Expressions 3, it's the 3rd volume, just dropped like a month ago. And that's pretty much all like 70s style soul and R&B, primarily guitar based, but I did a lot of vocals and a lot of keys on that as well. It's just a whole thing, as well as every track actually has live bass, because I just picked up the bass and started playing that too on everything. So yeah, those are the 2 main kits that we dropped.
There's a bunch of your singing on that as well. We briefly touched on it, but one of my favorite things about the pack is, like, I think on every track there's, you know, layers of you singing, which I think is a super good sort of plus to the pack, in my opinion.
Yeah. started. I mean, I love harmonies and I love singing, obviously. So I really use my voice as like textures, you know, just to give the tracks more substance. And because like all soul music has such beautiful vocals too, you know, it's a combination of the vocals and the horns, you know, those are the two things. So I'm like, well, I can't play horns, but I can at least do vocals. So that was there. And then this time around, I mostly did keys for the horns, but sometime I think on part 2 we did live horns, if I'm correct.
Yeah, we had live horns on the last one, and unfortunately, the horn player who actually played on this sample replay as well was a little bit tied up, so we kind of had to, you know, finesse things as much as we could with the keys. But I just wanted to say also, you'll remember when because I mixed the pack, and one of my favorite things about mixing this pack was the vocals this time. And I think you'll remember, Memory, me soloing some of the vocals and sending you the, you know, how they were sounding. So that was definitely one of my favorite things about it. So that's why I actually brought it up.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it's from the first pack, you know, which has done really, really well. We kind of went back to that and kind of took on that same sort of you know, concoction of tracks and how the sequencing was done. So the second one was much more where I was trying to do more technical stuff, like, you know, the harder to play, more jazzy type things, and just harder to play soul in general. But I feel like that kind of took away from like people's ability to just like take it in and sample it. You know, it's like a little bit Chick Corea out there, you know, for some people. And but I mean, who knows, you know, like that was just kind of our thought, I think, you know, when we were talking about them before we started.
I mean, all three volumes have done well. So I don't, you know, it's kind of hard to say that one is, you know, sort of more easy to sample than the other. But you know, the first one's been out ages, so yeah, it's sold probably thousands of copies, man. So it's pretty crazy. Yeah.
So yeah.
And then Stack Trace.
And the other. Oh.
I hate having to mute myself every time I talk because then there's a delay. So I start talking, and I don't think, for some reason, it's on Memory's end. I don't think he hears me talk for a good 10 seconds. So then we're talking at the same time, and I'm like, man, what is happening to this world right now? But my bad. Go ahead.
I was just going to say we're probably going over time, so I can shut up now and you can go on to Stack Trace, because I know you're trying to mediate the whole thing. So my bad.
I know. I was just looking at the time. It's like almost 6 o'clock. Okay, I'm ready to go. Okay, what's going on?
Jeez, guys, let me do my freaking job. All right, so Stack, what have you been working on? I know you've released a bunch of packs as well. The samplelab.com has kind of swallowed us all up.
Right. Yeah, we were doing that big Black Friday push, and that's honestly, that takes the most of my time is Vintage Vandals stuff, which is great. I love 2020 has been basically Vintage Vandals packs for me more than anything, which I love making packs. But lately, well, right now I'm on the disabled list. I had elbow surgery yesterday, so I'm off. I can't even play the keyboards for probably 4 weeks or so. So I'm kind of doing other stuff right now, catching up on all the other things that don't require me to play keyboard. But man, I'm working on some country, actually. I've been working on some country joints with Bufo, and shout out Bufo. It's turning out really cool. I uploaded 2 to my BeatStars today, and got some plans to work on some other ones, work with some singers, instrumentalists, to kind of go the country angle for a couple minutes, once I could get back to playing. But yeah, it's just going to be, I see next year as being hopefully much more packs, and I want to try to get into producing some more house. I really love house music and 90s house, so I'm going to try to maybe work on some of that this year too. That's about it. That's about it, though.
Speaking of Bufo, I believe he's nominated for a BeatStars Award, BeatStarsAwards.com.
I voted for him.
Cool. So shout out to Bufo, and you can vote now until God, it ends. Voting ends really soon, so so please vote. And then the award ceremony is going down in January, I believe, January 10th, and that's all going down on BeatStarsAwards.com. Check out BeatStarsAwards.com for the complete details, because clearly I don't know everything, but I'm excited for the BeatStars Award. It's the first annual, and it just shows you, number one, how strong of a community of creators there are here on BeatStars, and it also shows, you know, how much BeatStars goes out of their way to recognize all of our hard work. So shout out to them, and then shout out to Vintage Vandals featuring Tina G on today's pre-recorded conversation. You know, we wanted to bring content even though it's the holidays. I know some people need breaks from their families during Christmas, or if you have time because you're really isolating and quarantining yourself. Um, hopefully you can distract yourself from the loneliness with with hearing us break down an incredibly complicated Nas track that we produced. So thank you once again, and I appreciate you tuning in. We'll be back every Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and every Thursday at the same